Lots of news coming out about this year's World's Strongest Man, including a few date changes and the events.
Let's tackle this date change issue first then, because I know for anyone who's arranged to fly out there, they might be panicking.
Absolutely.
Initially, we were told that the competition would start on the 18th and would run up to the 23rd. And that would be 3 days of events, a day off, and then 2 days of finals. So what they're doing this year is cutting the heats section down to 2 days. So the competition will start on the 19th of April instead of the 18th. And there will be 2 days with 3 events each, 1 day off, and then a 2-day final also with 3 events.
So it's not
each.
a huge change in terms of dates. If people have booked their flights already, it's 1 day less of competition.
Yeah, so they are going to, for those fans who have arranged to be there on the 18th, they are going to put something on that might be the form of a meet and greet or a cocktail hour or something like that. But there is going to be. Yeah, no, well, this is what I'm being told. Good Strongman cocktails.
Sounds interesting.
It does sound interesting. But one thing that I think is worth thinking about is if they're really streamlining World's Strongest Man in the future, maybe not anytime too soon, and maybe I'm just an eternal optimist, but that leads to making it more streamable.
It does indeed. One of the things that I never liked when I was competing at World's Strongest Man, that you could end up doing one event a day in the heats.
Yes.
Whereas this is, it's better. You're getting on with the competition. So they'll be doing 3 events on day 1, 3 events day 2, day of rest for the guys that make the final, and then the same for the final. 2 days of competition, 3 events each day.
Exactly. So it is better for the athletes. I don't know anyone who enjoys doing one event a day.
I think it's more enjoyable for the fans as well. There's going to be a lot less waiting around for action to happen. Yeah. I think it's a great move from World's Strongest Man, and it keeps the action coming.
That's the idea, is to make it a better fan experience. So for the days that you are there will be more action on those days.
So shall we get into what the events are going to be? Yes. We know the events for the heats, and we know the events for the final. And
I think we should all take a moment to appreciate that this is rare. Like, when have we ever known the events this early for Worlds? It's still January.
Yeah, it's great that this information is getting out there for all the athletes, for all the fans. We can get excited. We can kind of discuss things. We can look at events, who we think will be good at these events. Lots of exciting discussion points, but let's get on with it. What are the events for this year's World's Strongest Man?
So day 1 of the heats, which is now going to start on the 19th, the first event will be a loading race. We don't know the implements yet, we just know it's a loading race. Event number 2 is going to be, they're calling it the deadlift machine, but it's the progressively heavier deadlift where barrels or whatever, drop into the machine.
I think in the past they just called it the barrel deadlift or the barrel squat. So.
Yeah, something like that. And then the third event on that day is going to be the log ladder. Again, we don't know weights. This is something that will be decided a little bit closer. They need their tester out there checking out the equipment. So
who's their tester?
We don't know. We don't know who the tester is.
I volunteer as tester.
You volunteer as tribute. There you go.
So day 2, we are starting off with the cone and circle. We don't often see the cone and circle at World's Strongest Man these days. This was an event that was staple when Mariusz Pudzianowski was winning World's Strongest Man. So the cone and circle will be in this year's heats. We also have the kettlebell toss, which we've seen a couple of times now. It's a throwing event. We know we've got some fantastic throwers. Sometimes we get sandbags, sometimes we have kegs. This year they are focusing on the kettlebells.
And I would imagine that's a run of kettlebells, because I think it would say throw for max height or something if it was a max.
Yeah, I'm pretty convinced it will be a set of, it's normally 5 to 8 depending on what they're using. I think the last time they did kettlebells it was only 5.
Okay.
So I might be wrong with that, but it's going to be a progressively heavier load and then get them over as quick as possible. Finally, no surprise I'm sure to many of you and to the dismay of Auntie Liz, the last event in the heats will be the stone off.
So day 1 of the finals, which will start on Saturday the 22nd of April, the first event is the fingers. Now this is an exciting one. Haven't seen it that often in competition. I know it was in the heats a few years ago, but great to see it make a return to the final.
I think the last time we saw it in the final was 2009.
Really? As long ago as that?
I'm just trying to think back to my competitions at Worlds, and I remember 2009 in Malta when Zdrunas was unbelievable at them. And I can't think of a time since then that it's been in the final. I might be wrong, but I'm just trying to think. You have to double check.
I'll put it up in text. He's wrong on the screen if you are. So then we're moving on to a deadlift. Now it says deadlift. There are some things I know. It's a Kanak deadlift, which they used a couple of years ago. I think it was 2021. It was in the final. Now there's talks of it being a max deadlift. Obviously they're doing the deadlift for reps in the heats. I hope it is a max deadlift personally. Love a max deadlift.
Well, you know, people always say sometimes world's strongest man is too light. When you chuck in a max event, then the strongest man wins.
So speaking to my contact, that's one thing they don't want to be hearing this year. World's strongest man is too light. So I think we can all expect a heavier competition, but we don't have confirmed weights. Weights are subject to change if they get there and the surface is wrong. So there's so many factors, isn't there, where it comes to it?
There is. We just know that they want it to be heavy this year.
Yeah. And then the final event of day one of the finals is going to be the shield carry. So it's presumably a max distance within a set time range.
I wonder what weight they'll use that, because again, Mariusz Pudzianowski type event this is, and he was unbeatable almost at shield carry. Are they going to stick with the weights they used to use, or do we go heavier?
I think it will be heavier, to be honest. And we've got some great shield carriers in this lineup. Mateusz Kiliszkowski, Mitchell Hooper has done remarkably well in this event recently. So
Tom Stoltman.
Oh yeah,
he's
of course,
a great
Tom,
athlete when it comes to carrying things a distance.
But we digress. We'll get onto the athletes in a minute.
So the final day of competition is going to kick things off with a max dumbbell event. Now this is an interesting one.
I think this is the first max dumbbell ever at Worlds. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm certain it is.
I think it will be. I've seen dumbbell medleys before.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you get a max dumbbell
anywhere.
You know,
yes.
So this could be a real interesting one. And we do have some monstrous dumbbell pressers that will be competing.
This event could be a game changer of the whole competition.
The second event on day 2 is going to be a vehicle pull. Could be a truck, could be a plane, could be a train. Who knows with World's Strongest Man, but a standard type vehicle pull.
I've heard it's going to be something really out there. That's their hope, but they can't confirm until...
You're teasing us.
I know, I'm sorry, but I don't want to say it and then everyone's like...
Well, it's going to be some...
Auntie Liz said.
Yeah, it's going to be some kind of vehicle pull. Very standard for World's Strongest Man.
Yes.
And, you know, if you want to win World's Strongest Man, you have to be able to pull these big vehicles. And then finally, we are finishing with the Atlas Stones. Standard stone run. Is it going to come down to the stones once again?
I hope so.
It does often,
I love
but
a dramatic finish.
You know, it's the Atlas Stones to finish with. It's been that way for many, many years now. And who will be winning World's Strongest Man 2023?
Now on to the athletes. There's no official lineup yet. I'm sure they're going to tease us with a one-a-day announcement type thing like last year. Now what happens is a whole group of athletes are sent like a placeholder, and now that we've got some more confirmed details like the date change, athletes are going to start to receive official invitations. So a bit of a nervy time for people who aren't quite sure if they'll make the final 30.
The established names are all going to be invited,
yes,
and there's going to be
course.
other athletes that are on the way up or potentially were there last year that might miss out.
Yeah.
But over the next few weeks, we're going to start seeing names that will be in this year's World's Strongest Man.
Now, looking at the events off the top of your head, which names are jumping out? Because Tom Stoltman, this is a great set of events for Tom, except the max dumbbell. He has historically lost so many points on dumbbell events.
Yeah, but his pressing's been improving, and I expect once he knows the events, he's going to be hammering his weaknesses. I was very impressed with Tom on the behind the neck press last year.
Yes.
That surprised me. If he kind of puts that type of work into the dumbbell, I think it could be a great set of events for Tom once again. I'm liking these for Mitch Hooper.
I am too, yeah. I
think Mitch could do very well with these type of events. Alexei Novikov, the potential return of Kiliszkowski, other than a deadlift. You know, he's so good at some of these events.
And let's not forget Brian Shaw. I mean, peak Brian times. This is perfect.
These are great. I mean, dumbbell is fantastic for him. He's good at carrying.
If it's heavier, it's good for him anyway.
Absolutely. It's going to be an exciting World's Strongest Man. That, without question, is for sure. We are going to look forward to the build-up, the athletes. We're going to overanalyze everything as we do, come up with predictions. But I'm already excited for the World's Strongest Man 2023.
So guys, as always, we value your thoughts and opinions. So please let us know what you think of these events in the comments below, and we will be back with more strength information and action soon.